changes to our planet, things that we can't control. Brent, you heard my tease during that break. What's the point?
Yeah, I heard that tease. I was wondering if you were going to ask that, being an investigative reporter. It is not our intent to cause fear or panic, even though it does. But by releasing the information as soon as we're able, we want to give people the ability to prepare. These things are going to happen. People's lives are going to fall apart, and we want them to know what's happening. Let me give you a quick scenario. Let's suppose somebody has cancer. You tell me what is better. Would you rather have cancer, not know, not be told, not be able to treat it, and not be able to look for yourself as to what is important in your life? Or would you rather be diagnosed, know what's happening so you can prepare, and most importantly, define for yourself what's truly important in your life? I mean, we hope that, this will be a wake-up call for people. We want them to look around at what's happening in the world, find out for themselves the information. It is available. We will do everything we can to make it available to people. We want them to find out what's truly important for their life, what has real and lasting meaning, and what would be considered a waste of time. We believe this will help people live more fulfilling lives and prepare for this event.
I remember there was this old song by Frank Zappa years ago. He had a song about moving to Montana soon, going to be a dental floss tycoon. Should we all move to Montana?
I don't know if we haven't really looked at the geometries of the Earth, and you know what? There is no way we can predict where the pole shift is going to be. And so without knowing where it's going to be, we don't know where, honestly, would be the safe places would be from a scientific viewpoint. For example, underneath the Arctic, Antarctica is a massive 600 million square miles of tropical forest sunk to the bottom of the ocean and frozen. That didn't happen over thousands of years. Otherwise, there would be no evidence of the forest. But it's a frozen, massive tropical forest. That resulted, that was many pole shifts back, and that was a massive pole shift. So if that type of shift occurs, the entire continent could disappear and be somewhere else. So we have no way of knowing what's going to be safe and what's not, so we need to prepare. In fact, I just want to indicate, because this really does sound like science fiction, I want to give people a real sense of how delicate this planet is. Our Earth is really fragile. It spins weightless in space, frictionless almost, in space on its axis as it travels around the sun. So it's basically this free-floating ball. Any external influence on it will be enough to cause it to wobble. Einstein himself addressed this issue when he said that Earth is so fragile that all you needed to do was melt the polar ice cap to a significant amount and the Earth would shift, have a geographic pole shift, and decimate the planet. Also, to show you how delicate the planet is, none of us were alive, and we do not have serious recorded history that gives us details about the last catastrophic pole shift, but we do have details about how fragile the planet is. In 705 BC, we assume, you can follow the assumption why we assume this later, we assume a gravitational body, not the galactic plane, a gravitational body, maybe a massive planet, black hole, who knows what it was, passed the planet in 705 BC. Here's the result. It caused the planet literally to stop revolving in its current direction. Stop revolving. Go backward for approximately what we would consider 10 hours. Then it resumed its normal rotational spin. Our computer model shows what range of gravitational forces, how they must have approached the planet, and how they must have left the planet proximity as they passed by in the direction opposite to the rotational spin of the planet in order for that effect to happen. This is recorded by many, many civilizations on that date, and yet it's not taught in schools, is how delicate the planet is.
Well, hold on a second now. It's recorded that the planets it changed directions. It's recorded by whom? By what civilization?
There were 15 major civilizations at that time. It's 705 BC. It was recorded in King Hezekiah's day as the sun moved backward up the Sun Palace steps by 10 steps before resuming its normal direction.
Oh.
At the very same time, the Chinese, as you know, were tremendous ancient astronomers. They record on that very same day from one-third of the way from the planet of the Middle East. They recorded the event as the sun sat in the west, rose back up again from the west, almost to the high noon position, and then resumed its normal path. It's the day they refer to as the sun set twice in one day. Now, this is the final effect. That effect, before that day, the 15 major civilizations on Earth, they all had calendars, and they were all astronomers, and they had very accurate calendars, and all their calendars were based on 360-day years. These calendars were the major civilizations at that time were the Assyrians, the Chaldeans, the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Persians, Greeks, Phoenicians, Chinese, Mayans, and Hindus, and there's three others that I can barely pronounce, so I won't even try.
That's okay.
What happened is after that date, the Earth now turned on its axis 365 revolutions in its path around the sun to meet one solar year. It took only 2 years before all of these civilizations realized and were able to properly compute the new speed around the sun and the spin rate in order to readjust the 15 standard calendars of that time. Numis Pompilius, he was the second king of Rome at the time. He reorganized their calendar of 360 days by adding 5 days per year. King Hezekiah, Numa's contemporary, reorganized the Jewish calendar by adding a month each Jewish leap year, and others made different adjustments. But this is what I would refer to as a modern-day event. That was less than 3,000 years ago to show us how delicate our planet is.
By the way, I'm sorry. I should mention you were talking a little bit ago about this National Academy of Sciences report that was talking about solar flares and the possibility of its effects. That has already been posted on the Coast to Coast website. It was posted a couple of days ago, January 9th, I believe, if people want to check it out and take a look at it. And I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's quite all right. Yeah, that's the date that they came out with the report on Friday. But, yeah, that just... So these a very small gravitational force like that could affect the planet. Whatever caused it, it was temporary and it was flying by the planet, which only pulled it a little bit and then released it. And then the planet went on its merry way. But if the solar system would pass through a fixed gravitational wave, you can see that the devastation would be far greater. So what we're talking about coming up in the immediate future is far greater than what we have documented by 15 different civilizations less than 3,000 years ago.
Brent, you were talking about, in response to one of my questions, you said you really don't have any kind of projections on places that are going to be safe. You do know which places will be unsafe, and that's the coastal areas you talked about. And as part of this question I'm asking, somebody has to know. I mean, we mentioned about the seed vault that's being created in a place that obviously somebody has figured is going to be safe.
Well, they've mapped out very accurately the last three pole shifts. And the last three pole shifts only changed by about 30 degrees each. So if you project maximum worst-case scenario, because the worst-case scenario is where the new equator sits. It's not where the pole sits, it's where the new equator sits, because the new equator defines, with respect to the old equator, which land masses drop into the ocean and which land masses rise from the ocean. So if you want the safest place on Earth, where do you go? You go as close to the North Pole as you can, because if it shifts only 30 degrees, no matter where it shifts, you're still far away from the new equator. That's why I believe the Norwegians planted the Doomsday Vault above the Arctic Circle on a rocky island 600 feet, and they drilled into solid rock 600 feet in the air, above sea level. Those type of places are rare and far between, and I'm not about to, live in northern Canada. So first,
you're not? Even though you are pretty much convinced this is going to happen?
All the evidence shows it. First of all, you said the subtle signs. The Chandler wobble stopped. It stopped at the same time the sun went on a massive solar flare a few years after that. And that subtle signs, and that happened in 1998. And the Chandler wobble has been a very, very consistent wobble every year for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the moment we start to move through the galactic plane, it stops, and now it's acting erratic. We have dangerous sunspot solar flares that occur during a solar minimum. The abnormal weather patterns are getting worse. The earthquakes are occurring in more diverse places, killing more people. These are the subtle signs. But if you look at these subtle signs, and they're all happening